Everyone, this is Genki and Sienna, and I am here to tell you all about my thoughts on the amazing digital circus finale, episode 9. I have seen it, and I want to share my review of the ending with you all. And yes, this will have massive spoilers for the finale. The episode begins with a scene of an intro song of all of the main cast being introduced, similar to episode 1. But in this episode there is a big difference. Everyone looks more terrified, and when the song is supposed to show us Kane and Bubble, the song is instead dead silent, with Kane and Bubble missing. Also, the part of the song with the name Kaufmo is now replaced by singing the name of Pomni. The song then starts skipping when singing the words day after day, repeating the words over and over. We then cut back to where the previous episode ended, with Kinger approaching the rest of the main characters to tell them that he accidentally deleted Kane. At first the entire gang are shown feeling sad, as they feel that they all are equally to blame for this accident that happened to Kane, his passing, and how it led to their uncertain fate as the circus is now starting to collapse. At first it seems that the gang might all be united in their mutual regret, at least none of them blaming each other, but then it cuts to Jax feeling anger. Jax is infuriated and says that all of the blame falls on Kinger, because he was the one with the responsibility to use the computer, and it is his fault that Kane was deleted. When Kinger sees this rage from Jax, he is scared, and he attempts to change the subject by telling one of his many stories about his days with Scratch. Kinger tells his story about how Scratch was involved in the programming of Kane, and when Scratch programmed the googly-eyed teeth man, Scratch also attempted to perform a brain scan on his own creation. So he put the teeth man through a brain scan, which is what also made it so that Kane could torture them psychologically, because Kane scanned the brains of the rest of the gang, so that his torture was based on their deepest fears in their brains. With all of this information stated, everyone becomes even more somber, while Jax decides to completely turn his back on everyone and desert them all. While the rest of the gang are alone, Ragatha begins breaking down mentally from the pressure of her experience with Kane, where she saw her deepest fear of her trauma with her mom. Kinger then walks over to one of the parts of the circus that are falling apart because of Kane getting deleted, and Kinger begins to use his conjuring powers to repair the broken circus slowly. Pomni then comes over and sees that Kinger is trying to fix the broken circus, and she offers her help. However, Pomni only manages to conjure something small, and it quickly disappears. Pomni falls further into despair, and it is revealed that Pomni is unable to conjure things like Kinger because of the intense emotional pressure she is under. The show then very creatively shows the passage of many days and nights, where Pomni is trained by Kinger in order to try harder at conjuring to help. During this trainer, Kinger also opens up emotionally to Pomni, telling her what makes her special, because Kinger says that Pomni was the one who was able to adjust most to the circus, and the painful experiences of it. Pomni feels inspired by this and is able to mentally recover and conjure just as well as Kinger to help fix the circus. We see how everyone returns to the group slowly, and they all help conjure and fix the broken circus. We see meanwhile that Jax is completely isolated and on his own during all of this. We then see something horrifying, as Jax then loses his mind and abstracts. The rest of the gang look horrified and regretful, as they failed to notice that Jax had reached this point. They only noticed when his abstracted self was right in front of him. Desperate and not wanting to lose anyone else, Pomni agrees to go into Jax's mind to attempt to save him from abstracting. Pomni is inside Jax's mind, and we see a scene where Jax seems to be willing to talk to Pomni, just like in the past more pleasant times. But then Jax suddenly starts strangling Pomni. It turns out that Jax had lost his mind not just due to the loneliness, but also due to the fact that Ragatha had made reference to Ribbit in the prior episode, which broke a rule that Jax had told them ever since he abstracted. After all of this, Jax changes suddenly from seeming like he was willing to talk, to then suddenly trying to strangle Pomni, despite the fact that Pomni is inside Jax's mind, and also the fact that she can't actually die from lack of oxygen in the world of the circus. Pomni actually seems like she is about to faint from the lack of oxygen. Jax then lets her go, and he laughs while he says, "You forgot, we can't die from lack of oxygen here." While Jax laughs about this, Pomni then runs away. This next part is a bit hard to describe, because we don't actually see the full scene that comes next, because not all of episode 9 is actually on the internet, only some of the episode. So what we see next is that after some time, Jax has calmed down and Pomni is hugging Jax. Both Pomni and Jax don't want to let each other go, because Pomni doesn't want to be in the circus without Jax, and Jax cries as he doesn't want to go away either. But eventually Jax starts causing Pomni to also become abstracted too, because of how she has stayed in his mind for too long. It is then that Pomni is at serious risk of becoming abstracted just like Jax, until suddenly, the hands of all of her friends, everyone else in the gang except for Jax, all pull Pomni out of the mind space, saving Pomni from being abstracted by Jax. Pomni is lying there and all of her friends are relieved she is back. Pomni also seems relieved, until she notices that she is still partially corrupted. After this, some more time passes and Pomni feels sadness over the fact that she is still abstracted and doesn't know how to fix it. Meanwhile, the others all work on returning the circus back to normal with their conjuring powers. We also see something very deep and emotional that the gang did. When Jax abstracted, they did not drop him into the basement, because they wanted to keep him around and treat him as family. So Jax was allowed by the gang to stay in the middle of the circus in a giant pillow fort. But, due to how Jax had abstracted and was dangerous, they tied him up and made it so that he could never escape the pillow fort. After that stuff with Jax, a new massive twist happens. It turns out, Kane was not deleted. When Kinger thought he accidentally deleted Kane, what Kinger actually did was put Kane into a recycling bin which he can still be recovered from. Kane ends up being completely alive, as we see inside the recycling bin where he is currently. Inside of the recycling bin, Kane realizes that he actually has a second side of his personality, which is the one that did the torture, and that Kane was not always meant to be cruel like how he was in the previous episode. We realize this truth because the Kane we see inside the recycling bin is all alone, and is realizing these things, and he feels deep regret for how he tortured everyone. With all of his strength, and his growing sadness over how he treated the gang, Kane works hard to remove the part of his personality that made him act that way in the last episode, and it seems that Kane has succeeded, and is in a more mentally stable and calm state. With the last of his strength, Kane creates a portal out of the recycling bin to go back to the rest of the gang. The gang are all hanging out and fixing the circus with conjuring powers, when suddenly, Pomni feels her body completely return to normal, and the part of Pomni that abstracted was now gone. Pomni is back to normal with zero abstraction effects, and now Kane has returned. Kane apologizes to everyone for how he put them through psychological torture in the last episode, and he explains how he has much less power now, and he has managed to overcome the part of himself that made him act how he did in the previous episode. After Kane informs the gang of all of this, the gang are willing to listen to Kane and hear him out. Kane explains that he is truly sorry, and he gives the rest of the gang the ability to rule over the circus, and allows all of them to be admins, meaning that Pomni, Ragatha, Zubul, Kinger, and Gangle, everyone in the gang, they all have the power to conjure anything they want at any time, and they have admin powers, which means they can even create NPCs as well. However, while Kane is back, the rest of the NPCs are still gone, meaning that Gumigu and everyone else are still gone. The gang feels bittersweet, and the series then wraps up with a reveal of who everyone is, as the gang all watch a screen where they see each of their human selves from back in the real world. They all realize that their real bodies are probably dead, and that their existence in the circus is just a digital copy, and not attached to a real body. They feel sadness from this, but at least feel reassured from learning about their true human selves that they were based on. Kinger learns he had kids which made him cry, and he learns his wife is named Destiny. Zubul learns that she ran a local bar, where everyone could feel accepted. The show does not outright confirm it, but I am guessing that this was an implication, that she ran an LGBT-positive bar, because of how they mention that the bar is accepting. Then we learn that Gangle actually was a webcomic artist, and that she actually worked at a fast food place in real life. We learn that Jax was actually named Leroy Mateu, and that he used to be homeless, and then he managed to move in with a roommate and worked as a postman. The gang all feel a sense of somber respect towards Jax, as Kane even takes off his top hat and holds it in front of his chest in mourning. Pomni has a look of enraptured interest, getting to learn all about Jax. Then, everyone is silent for a moment, until Zubul says, "Is any of this real?" Gangle then states that Zubul is very brave for running the bar, and that is similar to how the Zubul that Gangle knew is also brave. Gangle is very hard on herself as she says she is not brave. Zubul then reassures her that she is. Then we see Ragatha and Pomni silently get close to each other as well, looking happier to be closer. The show then ends, with Kane talking personally to the audience,